We are officially on the road to WrestleMania as WWE delivered a pretty solid Monday Night Raw tonight. I ain't gonna lie. This was pretty decent. We got some decent setup for WrestleMania. It wasn't a great show by any means, but it certainly wasn't bad. And we got exactly what I was hoping we would get out of the main event segment, specifically CM Punk and Roman Reigns. As I've been talking about over the past couple of days during the Royal Rumble watch along and review and all of this, WrestleMania speculation now that we know who the winners are. One thing that I didn't want Roman Reigns to do was to do the thing that a lot of Rumble winners do where they have to think about it. They have to go to Raw. They have to go to SmackDown. They have to talk to both champions. They have to weigh their options type of thing. And I didn't really want to see a whole lot of that out of Roman Reigns. I think Roman Reigns and CM Punk at this point is the best match to do. There's no reason not to do it. And that's, I think, the biggest one you can do. So I was really hoping that we would get this one set up tonight and not waste any time. Just get it done tonight. That way we can have a lot of weeks of CM Punk and Roman Reigns build. As we saw tonight, these two men are magic together on the mic. And between now and WrestleMania, you can have a lot of great segments. Of course, we're going to have a contract signing. And if tonight was any indication, the build to their what I'm expecting to be Night 2 WrestleMania match should be pretty fun to watch based on everything that we saw here this evening between those two. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Welcome to our WWE Raw review for February 2nd. It's fucking February. What the hell's going on? February 2nd, 2026. We are 2 days removed from the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia, which we watched together on Saturday morning here for me in California, or late morning, early afternoon. And then we reviewed the show. And once we saw how the winners of the Royal Rumble shook out, we did a lot of speculation, like I said, about WrestleMania and what those title matches could be. And I feel like the Drew McIntyre belt, that's going to be the belt that's going to get the shorter build. With this match, our Night 2 main event, at this point, it seems obvious this is going to be the Night 2 main event. That this is the one that needs to get all the attention. The Drew McIntyre belt, I think, is all going to come together at Elimination Chamber. And at this point where we sit, I am not expecting Drew McIntyre's title defense to be a one-on-one match. I feel like it's going to be a 3 or a 4-way. Now, over the weekend in the Rumble review, I had things a little bit mixed up. I was wondering, possibly, even though I wanted CM Punk and Roman Reigns as the WrestleMania main event, or the Night 2 main event, or at least one of the championship matches, I did acknowledge the possibility that Roman could challenge Drew, and I would be fine with that. But the better match is Punk. But if Roman faced Drew, I thought that maybe Cody would get into it somehow, and you'd be looking at Roman, Drew, Cody. I think I was on the right track. I think we're getting a triple threat, but I think it's either going to be Drew and Cody and Jacob, or Drew and Cody and Sammy, or Drew and Cody and Jacob and Sammy. So I think we're either getting a 3-way or a 4-way at this point for Drew McIntyre's title. That's the way I see this going. I don't see his title defense being one-on-one, at least right now. February 2nd, something might change between now and Elimination Chamber, depending on who wins the chamber. But I feel like Cody is going to get a shot because he got screwed out of the championship and then got no rematch. Then he got screwed out of the Royal Rumble. So between those two, when you add those two things together, even if Cody doesn't win the chamber, I'm wondering if he finds his way into the match anyway. So I feel like a multi-man deal is what's happening for Drew's belt, but this one, I didn't want to see them waste any time for Roman to think about it, take a couple of weeks to make his big decision. No, fuck all that. Let's get it done tonight. And when Roman was announced for the show, and then it was kind of leaked that he was going to be the main event segment for tonight, that started making it clear to me that they're going to go ahead and run with this tonight. So I was feeling very confident going in tonight to tonight's Raw that coming out of tonight's Raw, we would know the WrestleMania Night 2 main event, and we do. CM Punk versus Roman Reigns is official. It was a tremendous final segment there, really fun back and forth on the mic, and Roman has officially selected CM Punk as his opponent. And like I said, I'm assuming this is going to be the Night 2 main event. So we're going to run through all of Monday Night Raw here tonight, go through it bit by bit, all of the results, and talk about where we stand right now for WrestleMania. So welcome to the Raw review. Glad you guys are all here. A lot of times I'm not up here on Mondays these days because, Raw is sometimes not worth reviewing. But now we are on the road to WrestleMania, so expect to see me a pretty good amount of these Monday nights, unless we just have a dead Raw in here somewhere. If next week sucks, I won't come up, or if there's nothing that special planned for... What's the matter, Tito? You want to get in your little hole? Sorry, Tito's here trying to work his way in. There you go, buddy. Come on. You're interrupting the stream. There you go. I've created a little cubby, like right here on one of these shelves, and he wanted to get in, and I had to move my chair. So anyway, Tito's here too. But based on everything, based on the fact that it's Royal Rumble weekend and, everything going on, we had to come up here and at least talk about the Royal Rumble fallout. But if we get any weaker Monday Night Raws, you probably won't see me. But I think there's a good amount of these Raws leading up to WrestleMania, between now and WrestleMania anyway, that I will be up here for a review for. So thank you, everyone, for being here. Do me a favor, smash Mr. Thumbs Up button, all that jazz. Subscriptions, should say memberships, are open. Please subscribe. Drop a comment below if you're watching this on demand. Drop a comment in the chat if you're watching it now. And super chats are open, all that good stuff. Thank you for being here, everyone. Let me just do some quick shout outs real quick, and then we are going to jump into how Monday Night Raw opened up tonight, because it opened up kind of like a cold open with Braun Breaker out there going ballistic. So we're going to talk about that in just 1 second. Melissa, good to see you. Good to see Nick Musser. Tatanani is in the house. Thanks for the $2, Ryan. Off to the races we are. Hell yeah. Looking good. Gilbert is here. Nate Dogg, good to see you. Zane G, Afro Money, Nick Steele, Jim. We got David Brown, Garrett Osborne, Daniel Berry Sports, Pre-War Dreams, Ken Webb. Good to see Rodrigo, Denny Downbad, and Jose Lopez. Anybody else saying hello in the chat, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Any super chats that do come through, I'll probably save till the end. And let me know if you have any other questions or things you want to talk about. And I will touch on, before we sign off here, remind me to, I will touch on the WWE departure of Ava Raine. So that's an interesting development this week. Other than that, nothing else too big going on wrestling news-wise. We saw Powerhouse Hobbs make the jump to WWE and Ciampa make the jump to AEW this week. Ciampa winning the TNT title in his debut match on Collision on Saturday, which was pretty fun. And anything else like that you want me to discuss, drop it in the chat and we'll get to it later. But we need to open up with what the show opened with. Braun Breaker. The show goes live on Netflix, and we see Braun Breaker out there at ringside, and he is pissed. Now, for those of you who don't know, at the Royal Rumble, he was brought out at number 2, and as he made his entrance, right when he got to the ring, he was attacked by a masked, hooded figure who then hit Braun Breaker with a curb stomp and then fled. So one of the more interesting stories across all of WWE right now is the feud going on between Braun Breaker and Raw General Manager Adam Pearce. This has been pretty fun to watch, and it does make you wonder if we might actually get a fucking match out of this. Now, we were wondering about Randy Orton and Nick Aldis a year ago. We didn't get that. Maybe we get Braun Breaker and Adam Pearce. We have not seen Adam Pearce get in the ring as a GM, and neither has Aldis, and we've all been wondering if that is going to happen, and it seems like we might have another opportunity for that right here. But there also might be more deeper things going on, because there have been the phone calls, there have been things that Adam Pearce has been seemingly forced to do. Paul Heyman has even referenced this. Pearce has made some mistakes on his end, and the acronym FAFO has been tossed around a lot, and tonight Pearce threw it back in Heyman's face later on in the show. But it opened up with Breaker out there. He's mad. He basically just wants answers. He's yelling at Corey. He's yelling at Cole. Do you know who it is? Who's the fucking masked man? And they're like, bro, I don't know what the fuck. And so he just decides to, it was kind of comical, to be honest. He starts tearing apart the announce desk, and he takes, those little monitors now. Back in the 90s and even in the early 2000s, it was those big honking ass square metal dangerous life-ending monitors that they used to have down there. Now it's just little tablets. So he's throwing the tablets. He takes one tablet. It's like a little mini child iPad, and he throws it to the ground really mad. And then I'm like, what is he doing out here? Like, what's the end game? What's he trying to do? Like, if he really wants to drive home his anger, he needs to eat one of these office chairs, like completely. So he just throws everything around, and then he tips over the announce desk, and then he gets in the ring, he gets on the mic, and he's demanding Adam Pearce gets out there. Now the Vision is bum rushing the ring. Here comes Heyman, here comes Paul, here comes Reed, here comes Theory. They're trying to calm this beast down, and He is not having it. He wants answers now. So they're basically holding him back. Paul Heyman now gets on the mic and calls out Adam Pearce and even calls bullshit on Pearce claiming that he has no idea who the masked man was because Adam Pearce, according to Paul Heyman anyway, has to approve any visas for talent going to Saudi Arabia. So there's no way this can be just some random guy because Pearce would have to know who it is. I mean, it could also be a fan. Heyman didn't mention that, but he's adding more fuel to this fire that, maybe Pearce is really trying to screw Braun Breaker. I even had a thought that I don't think this would work for the whole Vision, but it could work for Breaker. Could we see a double turn? I mean, we have not had a heel commissioner in a while or a heel GM. I think that was very played out about 10 years ago, but Pearce is a completely different animal. Both him and Aldis have been mostly impartial. We haven't seen too much heel or babyface they tend to, lean more towards babyface than heels, but they're also mostly impartial. Maybe there's some sort of a double turn thing happening here. Maybe this is something to actually turn Braun Breaker babyface, and if they ever want to dust off the old Austin McMahon thing, and Pearce and Breaker almost reverse roles, and then Breaker starts, he starts winning. Pearce doesn't like it, and he's starting to do things to hold him down, much like Vince did to Austin. Maybe they're going in that direction, but it's pretty intriguing, and it might lead to something at WrestleMania because right now Breaker, he ain't going to be in a title match. Unless they get him a spot in the chamber, and that might be something they do, put him in the chamber and Pearce fucks him over again, or not Pearce, but Pearce gives him a spot in the chamber, and then the masked man comes and fucks him. So it could be, maybe that's what we're doing. Okay, I got an idea just right off the top of my head here. Should have tweeted this earlier. Maybe that's what they're doing. Let's assume, or let's not assume anything. But last year, there was some talk about Rollins' injury. He could be back by WrestleMania. We don't really know, but he could be back by WrestleMania. And you got to remember, WrestleMania is really late in the month this year. I think it's like the 20th, right? I think, WrestleMania. So it's pretty late. So you still got some time. So you had the masked man screwing Braun Breaker out of the Rumble. Then I think Adam Pearce is going to cave and give Breaker at least a qualifying match, because I think they start those next week, right? So it's going to be a qualifying match for the Elimination Chamber. I think Breaker will get in, and then I think the masked man will fuck him again. And then Breaker's going to go absolutely apeshit, and he's going to demand a WrestleMania match against the masked man, whoever it may be. And we don't know who it's going to be. It's going to be Breaker versus the masked man at WrestleMania, and the masked man is Seth Rollins. Maybe that's what it is. But you're telegraphing the fuck out of that. It ain't going to be a surprise that it's Seth Rollins. But then again, it wasn't a surprise that it was Cody Rhodes. But it was still great at WrestleMania 38 when he came out. So maybe it's something like that. Maybe this is leading to Breaker versus Rollins at WrestleMania. Because he ain't in a title match now. He's not going to be facing Roman now. Unless they try to act like the masked man was Brock or something, which they can't do. I don't know who Breaker would even face if Breaker is not in there. I mean, I think Brock is the only one, Brock or Oba, but Brock and Oba might be headed for a showdown. They might be paired off Gunther, Orton, Brock, Oba. And then, of course, we've got Drew in his title match, and then we've got Punk and Roman. Where does that leave Breaker? I think Seth might be the only opponent for him. So I think it might be Breaker and Seth at WrestleMania, and Seth is going to turn out to be the masked man. Or it's going to turn out to be Austin Theory, who's a mole. And I brought this up over the weekend, and I said, remember Austin Theory, that wasn't some big master plan by Division. They didn't recruit Austin Theory, put him under a hood, and have him come out there attacking people. He was doing that on his own, trying to get a spot in the Vision. Because didn't he have to prove himself for a week or two there? So he had to get into the Vision, which maybe Rollins was the one that recruited him, said infiltrate the Vision, and take them down, take them apart from the inside, and then I'll emerge around WrestleMania time and reveal that I was the puppeteer, the string puller, and all this. So it might be something like that. It maybe Theory is the backup. Maybe that's what they want to do. If I had to guess, maybe right now WWE, Triple H and the writers, they got the whiteboard, and we're trying to figure out what to do Breaker. And so when they got it all there, so maybe they're like, if Seth is healthy, it's Breaker and Seth. And then if Seth's not healthy, it's Breaker and Theory, which Breaker and Theory fucking suck, but at least Breaker would win, and he'd probably kill Theory. So maybe the plan is for Breaker and Seth Rollins, and then maybe there's a backup plan B. If Rollins isn't healthy enough, they can just make it Theory who turns. And then if they do go in that direction, and Rollins, hypothetically isn't healthy and isn't cleared for WrestleMania, so they have to go with Theory as the one under the hood, maybe you can add something to that. Maybe you can add an extra swerve to make that at least up to the level of what the Seth match would have been. I don't know, just an idea. So anyway, Heyman is calling bullshit. He feels like Pierce is in on this, and he's purposely trying to screw over Braun Breaker. So out comes Pierce with a shit ton of security to barricade him away from Braun Breaker. And he says that he's going to let Braun Breaker keep his job despite the bad Rumble performance. And then that, infuriates him. Braun goes to try to get some of Adam Pearce, and while he's doing that, LA Knight comes in from behind and attacks Logan Paul and Austin Theory with a chair and then runs off. So Breaker didn't really get his answers, and all Pierce really did was kind of troll him, which is what made me think that maybe this whole thing could wind up leading to some sort of a double turn down the road in the future. We will have to see. So Breaker kicked off Raw, and he is pissed. And, like I said, his Mania build now is not going to be for a title match unless he wins the Chamber, but I can't see him winning the Chamber. Not with this masked guy floating around. If the masked guy fucked him out of the Rumble, the masked guy is going to fuck him out of the Chamber. And Braun Breaker's opponent at WrestleMania is going to be the masked guy. That's the way it seems like to me right now. So let me know if you see it going any other direction than that. Our first match of the night was my bouncy boy, one of my favorites, Javon Evans. He's taking on El Grande Americano 2. So what I didn't like about this match is that we saw Chad Gable return at the Royal Rumble, and the fans didn't even give a fuck. So it was 100% guaranteed that he was going to come out here at some point in this match, and he did. Of course, Los Americanos are out there trying to interfere throughout the whole thing. That's when the OG Americano just shows up in the entrance ramp there, and that's enough to distract El Grande too. And then Javon comes in with his huge fucking super cutter or whatever it is. Jesus Christ, that move takes out El Grande and gets the win. With the assist, I should say, from El Grande OG or OG El Grande or whatever they're doing here. So we will see. The original El Grande is back, and he is jacked. He is ready to rock and roll, and I think that if there's ever going to be a chance for Gable to be another Kurt Angle-esque type of wrestler, you got to shed this crap and actually do something with him. But how many more times is he going to come back and do absolutely nothing? We've had the Shorty G's. We've had this shit. When does it end? When does it end? Does Triple H have something out for this guy or what? Because he is absolutely tremendous. Maybe he reminds Triple H a little too much of Kurt Angle. Maybe that's what the problem is here. Maybe Grande is like too many bad memories for Triple H and all of the smooches that Kurt Angle and Stephanie McMahon shared with each other. And as a matter of fact, thanks to everyone who joined us for the watch-along last night. We watched No Way Out 2000, and it was Jericho versus Angle, and that was when China was backing him up. And it was kind of cool to see Angle and China interact. I didn't really have too many memories of the two of them ever being in the ring together, so that was, anyway, kind of cool. It reminded me of that. Anyway, moving on. After Javon Evans defeats El Grande Americano, we've got... It's a Gunther promo. Where'd my Gunther promo go? Oh, anyway, I lost my Gunther Pro. I have it right here because it has to be seen to be believed. Holy shit. So Gunther is out next. And Gunther of all people, y'all. Gunther of all people. He tries to do the not the jobber entrance, but the fake entrance. He does the fake out entrance, and Gunther is such a weird guy to do this because his character just doesn't seem like the type of guy that does the fake entrances. So we get AJ Styles music playing, and I'm like, oh shit, it's February 2nd. Maybe his contract isn't up. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, oh my God, is this a psych out? And sure enough, it was a psych out. Out comes Gunther to AJ Styles music, and he even does the thing where he's doing, there's even a video of Bailey and AJ doing the thing today on social media, which is funny. So to see Gunther coming out and doing it, and he's going like this, he's trying to do the thing, and then we see that it's him, and it's just this big fake out, and he trolls everybody. So Gunther, the Gunther character doing that, it seems like it's fine when it's like The Miz and some other people, but Gunther doing it is just weird. So he came out to troll the fans. He has now ended the careers of Goldberg, John Cena, and AJ Styles. So he comes out to talk some shit, of course, and he's interrupted by Dragon Lee, who basically comes out sprinting to the ring and immediately just attacks Gunther. So Dragon Lee is sticking up for his former tag team champion partner, AJ Styles, that Gunther retired on Saturday. So Gunther winds up thwarting his attack and absolutely murders Dragon Lee on the outside of the ring, puts him in a sleeper on the outside, and then brings him up in the ring and hangs him over the ropes and puts him in a sleeper. Brody King has done this to a couple of people in AEW. And Gunther just I had to put the picture up because look how limp that Dragon Lee's body goes as Gunther is just choking him, murdering him, killing him right before our eyes on Monday Night Raw. So that's all we got there. We didn't get any WrestleMania teases for Gunther. No Randy Orton. I thought for sure we might get Orton out here teasing it, but they might be waiting. Maybe if they started running with Orton and Gunther already for WrestleMania, you got a lot of weeks until WrestleMania. So maybe you got to put them in the chamber. So, I think at this point, maybe it's like Breaker. Think of the star-studded chamber this could potentially be. How many people are in that fucking thing these days? It's 6, right? 4 pods and 2 in the middle. So dumb. So it's probably like Gunther, Orton, Cody, Sammy, Jacob, and Breaker? Cody, Orton, Gunther, Sammy, Jacob, Breaker. That's your 6. That's your 6. That's got to be your 6. And then the Masked Man can come in and screw over Breaker. Randy Orton can eliminate Gunther or something, since Gunther eliminated him from the Rumble, setting up their Legend Killer versus Career Killer match. Cody and Jacob could maybe cancel each other out. And then Sammy might fall ass backwards into a victory here, but maybe it's a busted one. Maybe the door gets open, the Masked Man is in there, everybody fucking is gone, and Sammy just gets this fluke win, and then Aldis and Pierce come together and say, why don't we make a multi-man, fatal 4-way for the championship at WrestleMania, and it'll be Drew. Or maybe Drew shows up. That could be something they do, because Drew has been showing up a lot lately. So maybe Drew tries to come in to affect the outcome of the Elimination Chamber, winds up screwing it up, and both of the GMs are like, or at least Aldis is like, well, now you got to defend your belt against the 3 people you fucked over. Sami Zayn, or the 2 people you fucked over. Sammy won it, but Cody and Fatu, you screwed them, so it's going to be a fatal 4-way, right? You just do that. That's all you do. And of course, Drew will be mad, but we've seen multi-man matches for championships before. Not a big deal. Plus, this does get a lot of people into technically a WrestleMania main event, assuming this even would go on last on night 1. I think it would. Some people may argue it might be time for a women's match, maybe. But based on who the champions right now are and who the challengers likely are, no, I'm sorry. I'm all for the women main eventing. No problem with that at all. But you got to base that on the strength of the matches. And I don't think that either one of those 2 women's matches would be stronger than a Drew versus Cody versus Jacob match or a 4-way or anything like that. Just my opinion. So if that's the night 1 main event, then that gets a couple of guys in a WrestleMania main event. Sammy has already been in one of these. He was in the night 1 main event at WrestleMania 39. So maybe this can be a stepping stone, much like last year was for CM Punk. CM Punk was in the night 1 main event. This year, he's in the night 2 main event. Or at least we're assuming he will be. So that could be how that all shakes out in the chamber. And then you've got then you've got everything set for WrestleMania now. Now you know how everything is going to be sectioned off, where if they had Randy Orton come out here in the Gunther promo, maybe it would be a little bit too early for that. It's my thought. So after that, we cut backstage. Paul Heyman is back there with Adam Pearce. And Heyman asks Adam Pearce to make Braun Breaker versus LA Knight. And Pearce says he can't do that. I just told him to get the fuck out of the building. As a matter of fact, you should go out and escort him out of here because he's not going to be getting a match tonight. But who is going to be getting a match is one of your other guys, Bronson Reed. He's got a match with Penta, so you better go tell him to get ready. We go to commercial. We come back, and we see Paul Heyman escorting Braun Breaker, a very angry Braun Breaker, out of the arena. So we will see how he gets back in. But like I said, I'm assuming this is going to result in him getting a spot in the chamber, getting a qualifying match, which he will win. And then in the chamber, Masked Man fucks him over. We had some news earlier on in the day that Oba Femi was going to be making appearing on Raw tonight, but we didn't know really what he was going to do. He came out while the War Raiders were in the ring awaiting their tag team opponents. Apparently they were scheduled for a match, and that's when Oba Femi's music played, and he came down and just destroyed both of the War Raiders, a pretty damn tough team. So I thought they were going to just book a handicap match between these guys, but it just turned out to be Oba absolutely destroying them and looking pretty badass. So Oba Femi, again, Brock Lesnar eliminated him from the Royal Rumble. And I just mentioned the 6 possible competitors for the Elimination Chamber. I didn't say anything about Oba Femi and Brock, so you could put them in there. But I think you might just book Oba and Brock. I mean, think about how Brock got eliminated at the Royal Rumble. So lame. And he was the one that eliminated Oba. So that's how I feel like it should go. Punk and Roman. Drew versus Cody, Jacob, and maybe Sammy. Multi-man deal for that title. Then you've got Randy Orton and Gunther. You've got Braun Breaker versus the Masked Man. And if you can somehow put together Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar, those matches right there look pretty good, I got to say. And those are just men's matches. We haven't talked about the women yet, or the IC, or what Dom does. So this could be a solid WrestleMania based on how everything looks on February 2nd. So let me know what you think. So Oba is out there. He destroys the War Raiders. Sounds like he's going to take his time to decide which brand he signs with, because they made mention that both Aldis and Pierce are trying to sign him. So he'll probably go to SmackDown. My expectation is that they will do a carbon copy of this segment on SmackDown. Well, no, there's not 2 of them. The other one's hurt. The Pretty Deadly guys. One of them's pretty funny right now. So you got to just, who's over there? Who's 2 dipshits that you can put in the ring for Oba to come out and just smash? You just got, who's the dipshittiest people on SmackDown right now? Put them out there. Oba comes out, smashes him. Same exact segment. Expect that on Friday. And yeah, Oba is something else. That guy's going to be the real deal. Oh, God. Here's something that made me, I don't know, nauseated. The Bella promo. The Bella Twins promo, I should say. So Nikki Bella is walking in the back towards the ring, and then she's joined by her sister. Of course, Brie Mode showed up at the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. That was the big surprise, Brie Mode. And the song Brie Mode, the reason she has the song Brie Mode is because Brie, when she gets into this certain mood, she really goes into this mode. So they made a song called Brie Mode based on the mode that Brie gets in. You understand? Like, do you want me to explain it again? I can if you need me to break it down. If you need me to break it down more about Brie Mode, I can. I'll be happy to. But you know how much I love talking about Brie Mode and how much I love talking about that song and how it absolutely isn't nails on a chalkboard, make me want to fucking throw myself off a bridge sounding at all. It's just wonderful. I love it. Listen to it when I bathe. It's awesome. So Brie Mode is back, and she's with her sister. They come out to the ring. We got a top 5 promo of all time here, folks. Holy shit, was this bad. So they came out to the ring. Fans didn't care. Brie says that she's back, and she says that we were all wondering why she's back. No, I mean, I'm not. I'm not wondering, nor do I care why you're back, but I have an idea of why you're back, and it's what we've all talked about. We were expecting maybe Brie to show up a couple months ago. Maybe it's Survivor Series right here in San Diego. I pitched that possibility of her coming out and helping Brie win the title or something, or helping Nikki. But Nikki does not need to be winning the world title. Neither one of these women do. But tag team championships, I can absolutely see them winning it. And they will. And that's what Brie said. She said that they want a shot at the tag team titles. It was one of the most boring promos I've ever seen. They were only in there for 30 seconds, so at least they didn't torture us. They weren't in there long. They just said that they're coming after the tag team titles, and that was it. Fine. Go after the tag team titles, win them. I don't give a shit at all. I don't mean to be hard on the Bella Twins. I just don't think we need them. Nobody asked for this shit. And the Hall of Fame thing, I didn't even mind them going into the Hall of Fame, but because it's not their fault that WWE refers to them as trailblazers. I think what really annoyed me was when Nikki was it was Nikki and Bree's podcast. I talked about this whenever it happened. And I don't know, she was barking back at some fans, probably being assholes. And it's just it was like her tone and stuff. And she's like, the thing about the fans is that they don't get it, you know? And I'm just like, well, some fans don't get it, but trust me, Nikki, I get it. I get it. Fine. And just their condescending type of tone and all of that. Just they're so off-putting. I don't find them fun. I don't find them entertaining at all. I've always liked Nikki. I think she's smoking hot. Brie's gorgeous. I am a massive fan of Brie, Bella's husband. I think he's tremendous. I love him with all of my heart. But those two on WWE TV, those two together, I'm not going to shit on the word trailblazer because that means different things to different fans. I'm a 48-year-old male. They didn't trailblaze jack shit for me. But if I was a 19-year-old girl, they might have done some trailblazing for me. So you just got to think about who you are, what kind of fan you are. But Hall of Fame was a stretch. Trailblazers was a stretch, especially when they came in as models. They just came in because they're smoking hot. That's it. WWE held these "Are You Hot" casting calls. That's how they got in. They didn't get in the business for their love of the business. You know, training since they were kids. They weren't like the Hardy Boys or anything. They were just two hot chicks who looked smoking hot in bikinis, and WWE smeared them out there on TV. You know, and then they stuck with it. They got over a little bit. Nikki and Brie both improved enough in the ring to be passable. And for a while there, I thought Nikki was doing really well. And Brie even had that match with Stephanie was very, very memorable. So the two of them, it's not like they've done nothing. It's not like they're useless or worthless or anything like that. It's just, I don't know really what they offer a fan like me in 2026 when I was never really a fan of them to begin with. So they are back. They're targeting the tag team titles. I have no doubt they will win those tag team titles. I don't know if they're going to do it at Mania and WWE is going to give them their Mania moment. It's going to be this tearful win for these worthless set of championships. I don't know, but they will 1 trillion% win the tag team titles. I don't know how and when and what opponent it's going to be against. And who the hell are the champs even right now? Rhea and Io. They ain't beating Rhea and Io. Oh, shit. They better not beat Io and Rhea. I don't think I can handle that. I think I'd quit everything. I'd quit YouTube. I'd quit the business. I'd quit wrestling. If the Bellas beat Rhea Ripley and Io Sky for the tag team titles. No. What's that Steve Carell gif from The Office? No, God, no. I can't handle that. So one thing they could do is maybe as absurd as an upset as that sounds, the Bellas beating Io and Rhea, we are and we have been wondering what those two are going to be doing at WrestleMania. And many of us have speculated that it might be a match against each other. So maybe something happens and the Bellas pull off the upset of all upsets and they beat Io and Rhea, and then that leads to some match between them at WrestleMania. But one match I don't want is Ripley and Io Sky versus the Bellas at WrestleMania. I'd rather get a colonoscopy. No. Please, no. So if you're going to do the title switch somewhere, I think maybe what you do, I'd rather see, because the Bellas appear to be baby faces in this, right? Feels like Nikki is now a babyface again after being healed. Turn back babyface. If they stay baby faces, then I don't think they beat Io and Rhea. I think they would only have a chance to do that if they went into that match as heels. So maybe based on the Zero reaction tonight they got in Philly. Maybe Triple H is probably, it's better if we're going to make you heels. It's better if you're heels. He might just want to make them heels. So if they are heels, then yeah, sure, they can beat Rhea and Io Sky. Otherwise, I think Rhea and Io, the scenario I said a minute ago, would just be with a different team other than the Bellas. Somebody else will beat Rhea Ripley and Io Sky for the titles. That loss will lead to Rhea and Io one-on-one at WrestleMania. And the team that beat them will then drop the belts maybe to the Bellas at WrestleMania. Something like that. Or they do a big multi-team thing at Mania. Or the Bellas go into Mania as tag team champions and drop the titles there. I'd prefer that. But right now, those titles are firmly around the gorgeous waists of Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, and it's going to be tough for them two girls to take it off, or those belts off of them. So we will see. But the Bellas are back, and unfortunately, we just don't get it. We don't get it. We just don't get it. That's what she said. She said we don't get it. I think we do. All right, up next was the match that Adam Pearce mentioned to Paul Heyman backstage. Penta is going to be taking on Bronson Reed, and we get a ref bump in this match. He goes down, and Bronson Reed hits Penta with a tsunami, but there's no ref to count the three. That's when LA Knight shows up on the outside, and he BFTs Bronson Reed on the outside on a chair and scurries away as the Vision chases him off. And then Bronson Reed gets counted out. Referee comes to, he recovers, and he counts Bronson Reed out, and Penta defeats Bronson Reed via countout. I enjoyed that. It reminded me a lot of what Austin would do back in the day. He'd show up, stun a motherfucker, and he'd just be gone into the night, and LA Knight was kind of doing that here. Very Austin-like. I liked it. And, LA Knight's going to, he's going to have something to do too. I don't know, I feel like LA Knight needs to get into the chamber. All those names I mentioned earlier, there's some names that's missing. Brock, Obafemi, LA Knight, Bronson Reed, Logan Paul. Where are they all going to fall in the chamber? There's probably not room for all them, so we will see. But LA Knight costs Bronson Reed the match there. And then it is time for the Women's Royal Rumble winner, Liv Morgan, who won the Royal Rumble on Saturday. I was so happy for her. She was who I picked to win. I think her situation makes the most interesting story for a Rumble winner. And I kind of thought that maybe Raquel would win the championship tonight, but of course that didn't happen. But Liv was out first, but she didn't come out first. Dominic came out first. So it was Dom who we saw. Dominic looking more Dominic than ever tonight. My God, that hair is getting long. If he braids that thing, he's got a Bianca Belair whip. That is how long Dominic's hair is getting. So he's out there, and he said the only reason he came back was because he wanted to introduce the winner of the 2026 Women's Royal Rumble, bringing out his girl, Liv Morgan, who looked great tonight, by the way. A lot of people were commenting on how just absolutely fabulous she looked, and she did. And she came out there, leaped right into Dominic's arms, and then talked about her Royal Rumble victory and that she's going to be the greatest, or she is the greatest Royal Rumble winner ever. I didn't even know that was a thing, but she seems to think it is. And she says that she's going to think about. So she's going to do the think about it thing. And I knew that when she said it. I was like, Liv is going to do the thing where she's got to decide. Roman ain't doing that. I was fully expecting Roman to decide later. So when Liv was like, I got to think about it, she said she's going to go to SmackDown. So she'll go to SmackDown on Friday, talk to Jade Cargill, I'm sure. But I have a feeling she's going to challenge for the title on Raw is what's going to happen. I guess both Rumble winners are going to be Raw belt challengers, I suppose. Did that happen last year too? Happens sometimes. But anyway, she's going to give it some thought, and that's when she is interrupted by her Judgment Day stablemate, Raquel Rodriguez, who has got a Philadelphia street fight up next for the title against Stephanie Vaquer. So she comes out, and Liv is happy to see her, but Raquel's like, yo, we got something. I gotta know something. Why did you eliminate me? I love Raquel. I really do. But is she dumb? What do you mean? Why did you eliminate her? Raquel, girl. On Saturday, you were in a match called the Royal Rumble. This match began in 1988, and the premise of the match was very clear. Every man for himself. About 30 years goes by, they decide to let the women do the match too. Same rules. Every woman for herself. So you've had 37 years of men doing it and about 10 or so of women doing it. We all know the rules. Every wrestler for themselves. Once you're in the match, the way you eliminate other people in the match is to throw them over the top rope. There are no friends in the Rumble because, what did we just talk about? Every wrestler for themselves. Okay, so let's recap here. It's every wrestler for themselves. No matter who's in there, your friend, your mom, your dad, Grandma Rodriguez, whoever's in there with you, it's every wrestler for yourself. There can only be one winner. Only one person gets an opportunity to wrestle for the championship at WrestleMania. It can only be one woman. So when you take all of these facts, every woman for themselves, the way you win is to eliminate opponents by tossing them over the top rope. There are no friends. Doesn't matter if your best friend, mom, dad, or grandmother are in the ring with you. It is every wrestler for yourself. If you are the last person standing, you get a championship match at WrestleMania. That's how the Royal Rumble works. Do I need to explain it again? I will. I will break it down for you, Raquel. I will. But you don't need to ask Liv Morgan why she eliminated you. I can answer that for you. Because it's the fucking rules of the match. That's why. So she seemed really confused about that. Why would you eliminate me? What were you doing? The men do this shit too. You know, every time it's been 30, 40 fucking years of this shit. And whenever a tag team partner throws out another tag team partner, or a faction member throws out somebody else, they act like so what are you doing? It's a fucking Royal Rumble. What is wrong with these wrestlers? What the fuck is wrong with them? I'm not picking on the women. The men do it too. Remember last year when it was like Punk? What year was it that like Punk and Roman and whoever the fuck were all on the outside? I guess Seth. Maybe it was the three of them. Yeah, it was last year, right? And they were all arguing with each other, man, about like the eliminations. I'm like, it's the Royal Rumble. You topple over the top rope, you're eliminated. Doesn't matter who threw you out. What'd you do that for? Like, what the hell is going on here? So anyway, I don't understand why the wrestlers are confused when they get eliminated. How did that happen? Gee, I wonder how. I don't know, Raquel. So anyway, Liv basically was like, well, what's the big deal? You are getting a title shot tonight. I have a future title shot. So things are wonderful. So what I was expecting is like maybe for Raquel to win the title and then Liv will do the typical thing that Rumble winners tend to do Raquel will do the thing that champions tend to do when the Rumble winner is a friend of theirs. They're going to push them to go challenge for the other championship on the other show. So I thought if Raquel won tonight, she would do the same thing that Liv did. Throw it right back in her face. Say, well, I'm a champion. You should go to SmackDown and become a champion over there. Then Judgment Day will really rule. But then Liv might look over there and see Jade Cargill and be like, oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know if I want to do that. So I thought that would kind of be fun. But as we would see in the very next match, it was the WWE Women's World Championship on the line. Stephanie Vaquer versus Raquel Rodriguez in a Philadelphia street fight. And I thought there was a chance we would see a title change here, but I also questioned whether or not WWE would actually do Liv Morgan versus Raquel Rodriguez at WrestleMania. You know, there's a story there, obviously, inside of the Judgment Day faction, but I don't know how big of a match that is. You know, I think even though there's less story with Liv and Stephanie, I think that's a better match. So I had my doubts that Raquel actually would do it here, but she still might. You never know. You know, we still got the Chamber, and we still got another pay-per-view, so another title defense for Stephanie. Maybe there's something else, because as we would see here, Judgment Day would get involved. That's what Raquel said to Liv in the promo earlier, right before the match. She said that, I don't need you around for this match tonight. Let me do it on my own. And Liv was like, no problem. See you later. Good luck. And she skipped right out of the ring, right out of the ring. So now we've got the street fight. It's okay. The street fight wasn't bad. I laughed a little bit when Raquel tried to do the thing where they shoved the chair in the corner and it just kind of fell through, which was kind of funny. So they kind of had to abort that spot. There were 3 Devil's Kiss attempts here. The first one I liked because Raquel, I do love Raquel. She just powered right out of it, just stood right up and electric chaired Stephanie. That was kind of cool. But then Stephanie would hit 2 more, one in the ring and then one outside the ring on the steps. She hit him on the steps, which was pretty cool. And that's when Liv Morgan defies the request of Raquel to stay out of it and shows up, grabs the title belt, tries to give it to Raquel, but Raquel's like, what the fuck are you doing here? That's enough to kind of cause a distraction there, and Stephanie comes in and knocks Liv off the apron. So then they go to continue, and they've got a table set up in the ring, which Raquel took about an hour and a half to set up. So they got the table in the ring. Stephanie puts Raquel on the table, and as she's laying on it, waiting for Raquel to maybe hit or move from the top rope, she goes up to the top. Raquel is on the table, and you can see the perforation, like as WWE pre-cuts these tables. And Raquel's a big girl, so she's laying on it, and of course, right down the center of the table, you can see it kind of creaked a little bit. So it's starting to break, and I'm like, that's going to break with her on top of it. It's going to break before they do the bump. And I'm like, God, this is going to look like shit. This is going to look like shit. But the table held on. And instead, the other one, Roxanne, she comes scurrying in. She tries to get up there to knock Stephanie off the top, but Stephanie pushes her off the top rope, and Roxanne goes through a table on the outside. And then we end up getting Raquel coming up, I think, to the ropes with Stephanie, and Stephanie like Hurricane Rana's her off, and she does hit the table, but the table doesn't break. It just kind of bends there where it's been pre-cut and kind of bounces off the table, and then Stephanie hits the corkscrew splash for the win and pins Raquel Rodriguez in a pretty decent match, and I'm happy that Stephanie retained the title. So it's looking now that it might be Raquel and Stephanie and Liv for the title at WrestleMania, and we still don't know the whereabouts or the status of Bianca Belair on SmackDown. Very curious if Bianca is not ready and the finger thing is still keeping her out. Very curious how or what match they do for Jade Cargill at WrestleMania, assuming she's going to be champ going into that. She might not be. But I think it was last year, right? Wasn't it last year at the Chamber that Naomi came in and did the big heel turn and attacked Jade Cargill, right? Can you do the same thing with Bianca? Can you have something happen there? Like last year, Jade was in the Chamber, right? So Jade wasn't in the Chamber. It was Naomi. And Jade, that's what it was. And Jade came out and attacked Naomi, basically revealing that it was Naomi that attacked her, and that was part of the Naomi heel turn. So maybe it's something similar. Maybe Bianca just flat out returns this Friday on SmackDown. Unannounced, shows back up, hair twirling, everybody's happy to see Bianca. And welcome back, chants, all that stuff. And Nick Aldis gives her a qualifying match for the Chamber, and she wins. She's in the Chamber. Then you fast forward to the Chamber, and Bianca wins the Chamber. And she wins. And then Jade shows up after the match, because since we already know, by that point, we might know that Liv is challenging Stephanie. So Bianca's not going to have a decision to make. We know it's going to be for Jade's title. Bianca wins, Jade comes out, and they have a little face-off here, and Bianca turns on her. Bianca turns heel. Right there after the Chamber. She wins it. As Bianca Belair, hair twirling Bianca, Jade comes out to have a nice face-off with her friend, shake hands, say, may the best woman win at WrestleMania, and then Bianca just fucks her up. Turns on Jade, attacks her, turns heel, and then beats her for the championship, wins the championship from Jade Cargill as a heel. Heel Bianca Belair, winning the championship from Jade Cargill at WrestleMania. That's what I want to see. So, Liv, Stephanie, Bianca, Jade. That's what I think you should do for the women. And then with the men, do a multi-man deal. Because like I said, on Rumble, on the Rumble review, one of the 4 world championships in the company, at least one, maybe more, but at least one, the 2 women's titles, the 2 men's titles, one of those championships at WrestleMania will be defended in a multi-wrestler affair. There's no way of getting around that. I just feel like it's absolutely going to happen to at least one of those belts. maybe 2. So we will see. But Stephanie, still your WWE Women's World Champion. And that leaves us with the final segment. We talked about it earlier on. Roman Reigns was going to be appearing on the show. He was advertised, and he was going to be talking about his Royal Rumble victory. So Roman comes out. He shows up in the truck, pulls up to the back area, gets right out of his truck. His music starts playing, walks right through Gorilla, and out to the ring. And he's out there by himself at first, and he asks the fans who he should challenge. Maybe I'll get some help from the fans. Should I challenge Drew McIntyre? And they're like, boo. They're like, fuck that, no. Or challenge CM Punk, and they cheered like crazy. So once he did that even, I'm like, okay, there is no way that Roman Reigns is going to drag this out. You know, that answer from the audience was as clear of a picture as you need to get, as you can get with that. That is going to be the match to do. So he comes out. It reminded me of when Vince was during the simulcast, when they bought WCW, and he was doing the thing with the Big Papa Pump, and, you know, they were booing some people, and they had a huge reaction for Papa Pump. And it still took him like 2 years to bring him in, but it reminded me of that. So the fans were pretty clear on who they wanted here, and we knew we were going to see CM Punk. We knew this segment was going to be Roman facing off with Punk. So even earlier on in the day, this is the way it all started coming together. If there was any doubts in our mind whether or not WWE was going to go with Roman and Punk, those were erased, I think, before Raw even went on the air. That's how confident I felt about this. So Punk was out after that, and this was so great. Punk comes out, he interrupts, he makes his entrance down to the ring. His Cult of Personality plays. He gets on the mic, gets in the ring, walks right past Roman Reigns and directly into the camera and says, Finn Balor. It was very Hangman Page-esque when he came out. Hangman Adam Page just called him out of nowhere like that when he was trying to get revenge for the whatever his butthurt about. So he comes and just gets right in the camera and just calls out Balor, and the look on Roman's face. What the fuck is he? Is this guy serious? He's coming out here, just completely ghosts me and goes right to the camera and calls out Balor, and basically saying that he's going to get his hands on him. He's coming for him. So I feel like that's going to be our Elimination Chamber championship match. CM Punk versus Finn Balor. That show is in Chicago. So a CM Punk World Championship title defense in Chicago seems like a no-brainer. Feels like that's what they're setting up there. So Roman's reaction was the funniest part. I was like, and even when he did it, when I'm watching it, I'm like, that right there's my thumbnail. I mean, how can it not be? It's so great. What a shot. So Roman is basically like, you got to be fucking kidding me with this guy. And he's very offended, but Punk is like, I don't know why you're offended. You're a visitor on my show. And this is when the great back and forth between the two started. There were some really cool things they brought up here. And Punk brought up Drew McIntyre. You know, like, hey, you asked the fans if it was me or Drew, and he said something about, like, as much as I love hearing Drew be booed, you know, I don't know, you should pick me or whatnot. And Roman brings up, you know, hey, you throwing shade at Drew, but he's the one that made you cry over a bracelet. And Punk is like, yeah, but I put his ass in the dirt. So they kind of talk about the Drew feud. And he said, you faced him. And Roman's bragging. They kind of buried McIntyre, to be honest, because Roman then starts bragging how many times I've beaten Drew all fucking day, man. I've smashed him for years around here. You know, every time he's gotten in the ring with me, I've just owned him like the bitch that he is. I mean, they are just throwing heaps of dirt on Drew McIntyre at this point. And Punk was like, yeah, but you did that with the bloodline. You know, you didn't do that by yourself. Well, I guess he would have at WrestleMania 35, right? None of that was happening yet, but basically it was like, hey, all the matches you win, stop bragging about it. You held the title. They talked about their championship runs. I held the title for 400 days. You held it for 1,300 or whatever it was, but stop bragging. You did all of that with the help of your family. I beat Drew on my own at his best in this company's most sadistic match, the Hell in the Cell. And I left him in a bloody pool and left him in a heap. You know, you did not do that. So they kind of, a little pissing contest here. And they did bring up the championships. And Punk says that Roman Reigns is the one that followed in his footsteps. I was champion for 400 and something days, whatever it was. And I did that with Paul Heyman by my side. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? You followed in my footsteps. You took my blueprint and made it work for yourself. As a matter of fact, I'm the one that brought your asses into the company, all you Shield motherfuckers. And that's true. The Shield was supposed to be there as Punk's shield, and I really wish, it's kind of like the Paul Bearer the Undertaker and Brother Love thing, is that I really wish that they would have followed through with that, because that would be such a great callback here. All of these years later, that was 2012? We're talking 14 years ago was when Punk brought Roman Reigns into the company. And here he is defending his championship against this very guy. Roman Reigns brought up how CM Punk took a 10-year vacation, and the reason he's able to operate and wrestle at this level is because of that. And he said that when the company brought him back, who do you think they came to? Who do you think they asked? They asked me if it was cool if they brought you back after your long vacation, after you went on your friend's podcast and you made my life harder than it ever had to be, or harder than it ever had to be. That was a great line. Because Punk, I don't know if Punk was dissing necessarily Roman in the podcast, but he was dissing the company hard, and he was very a big advocate for Daniel Bryan at that time, getting his moment, which he would at that WrestleMania. So kind of the mention of the Colt Cabana podcast I thought was really good, talking about both of their histories with Paul Heyman. Neither one of them are going to be affiliated with Paul Heyman going into this match. That's kind of interesting. Makes you wonder if maybe there's going to be some sort of a new swerve and Heyman's going to reattach himself to one of these guys, or if this is actually just going to be one-on-one. What do you think is going to happen at WrestleMania between these guys? Is there going to be interference? We're going to see The Rock. We're going to see The Rock. Is it going to be overbooked bonkers fun, or is it going to be a just straight-up one-on-one match between these two? Punk's a little limited athletically, so I feel like you might have to add some spice to this match to make it a memorable one at WrestleMania. We will see. But the back and forth on the mic, I really liked. And after Roman basically said his piece, he basically said, that's why I'm picking you. And that was it. Just in that sentence, that's why I'm picking you. And I'm like, shit, sweet. There we go. It's official. CM Punk and Roman Reigns. Like, clearly this promo is telling us that it's official, but I wasn't 100% sure if Roman was really going to say it or not, and he did. And I'm like, thank God. We did not need this to be drug out. There was no reason for it. These two guys are good enough and can create enough magic on the mic that they can sustain like a long build. And we got a long way until we get it till April 20th. And I think these guys are going to provide us with some good TV. Now, Roman, he's not going to be around for all of it, but he'll be around for a good portion of it. I don't think he'll have, a schedule as limited as maybe Cena did. And there's going to be some weeks of TV he's going to miss between now and WrestleMania. But, Tito, was that you? There's definitely going to be some weeks he's going to miss, but he should be there for at least the majority of it. And like I said, we're going to have contract signings. I wouldn't even mind like a tag match or something if we can get a tag match done on Raw. Another thing, knock on wood, I don't want to jinx it, but we got to keep Punk healthy. We got to make sure he's going into WrestleMania at 100%, because one thing that I would absolutely hate to have happened is if Punk gets hurt again right before WrestleMania, and if this is your night 2 main event, you are hinging a lot on a guy that's been hurt a lot since he's come back in 2021. So let's just hope that everything going on with Punk, he can stay healthy and get to the match. Because if something were to happen there, what do you even do? Especially if you have all your other matches mapped out. What do you do? You peel Cody off the multi-man deal and stick him in there with Roman and get the rubber match done? Like, what do you do? Especially if the Mania card is, like, set. Especially if we've, like, got it. Let's say we're 3 weeks away from Mania, and Punk tears his triceps or something. Hate to say that, but I just, let's just hope that doesn't happen, because this is a match I really want to see. Punk and Roman should be fun. There should be a lot about this. Should be fun. I hope the two, personally, wind up developing a good relationship through this program. This is going to be a 2.5 month. Mania is April 20th, so that's over 2 months away. It's like 2 months and 3 weeks, nearly. So almost 3 months of build these two are going to have. Tito, what are you doing, buddy? So of all those weeks, and then you do the build, then you do the match, I'm hoping these two start developing, a professional respect for each other. They're also on opposite ends of the political spectrum. Now, Roman Reigns doesn't make his known too much, but we have heard him offer support to the current administration, which we know CM Punk does not. But as we would also learn this week with Ava Raine, WWE, I think, has told people not to speak out too loudly against these things. So, I think behind the scenes, Triple H in this situation is going to put Roman over. I think Roman's going to beat CM Punk for the title. Even though Roman threw a little bit of shade at Triple H's creative, I feel like, Punk is just there. He's just there, and he's got to keep his mouth shut. He's got to, he's got to work for this company, be paid by this company, have a great relationship with a guy that's in bed with the current administration. I don't know how he's personally wrestling with that. I'm glad I don't have to do it, but you have to wonder if any of that might factor in. And knowing Triple H being the booker that we do, I think that in this match, Roman will win the title, and that's a belt that Roman hasn't won yet. So right now, I feel like it's going to be Roman, but let's say that it is. Let's say it's the Night 2 main event and Roman Reigns wins. Is that how WrestleMania is going off the air? Just Roman Reigns with the pyro? The part-timer with the pyro? We had the part-timer with the pyro last year, John Cena. Now it's going to be Roman Reigns. I'm not against Roman Reigns being champion, but, again, because he's Roman Reigns, and I still like Roman Reigns, and I like the tribal chief gimmick, and I'm not anti-Roman Reigns by any means, but that's what we're getting. Roman celebrating on his own as I guess as a babyface or something like that. I'm hoping that we get a CM Punk heel turn here. I think Punk would be a great heel in this program, and that might be the way they do it. Because right now, unless they just keep it the way it is, and both guys are kind of tweeners, I suppose. Punk's a babyface. Roman's a little bit more in between, but he's kind of a babyface right now. So it might have to be Punk being a heel. Just to make it more satisfactory for the fans when Roman wins. If he beats, CM Punk, who's at his best, at his heel best. If he has some sort of a big turn, maybe, or if he turns it in Chicago, well, the fans would cheer that. So, or maybe he turns heel throughout the course of the build, and he's a heel by the time we get to WrestleMania. Something like that. I don't know. But it feels like there's going to have to be a few other dynamics to this match. It's a big enough match. You can just do it one-on-one, no other bullshit. But I also feel like adding a little bit of something to it might be appropriate to make it a satisfactory WrestleMania Night 2 main event, because we remember how bad last year was, and I don't think WWE wants to shit the bed in 2 straight Vegas main events. John Cena and Cody Rhodes was god-awful, one of the worst WrestleMania main events of all time, and they don't want to turn around and do the same thing the next year. And in the ring, these two guys are going to give us some drama, but I don't think Roman and Punk's matches are going to be any better than I don't think Roman and Punk matches are going to be any better than Roman and Cody matches. So what do you do? I don't know. Might just be a straight up deal. We will see. But anyway, that was pretty much it for Monday Night Raw. And I did mention Ava Raine a minute ago. She actually left WWE this week, tweeted out and posted on Instagram, I think, a nice heartfelt thank you to the WWE and the fans and the audience. And she's decided to move on with her life. And my immediate reaction was good for her. I'm so glad that being The Rock's daughter, she's not in a position where her whole livelihood is dependent on WWE, where some of these wrestlers getting into the business, they want to be in the business so they can be rich and famous and all that stuff and, and make their money. Ava, she's got all that. She'll never want for anything. Her dad's The Rock, for fuck's sake. Her dad's Dwayne Johnson. So there's no financial reason for her to stay there. And we heard almost immediately that there was more to that than meets the eye. And then lo and behold, yesterday, she tweets out, "Now I can say this with my full chest, fuck ICE and that entire administration." So I feel like she left WWE just because of a moral reason. And I'm glad that she's in the position to do that. Some people financially, in a lot of jobs, not just WWE, it could be anywhere you work in the world. You might have to work for someone you have opposite political beliefs from. 20 years ago, that wouldn't have mattered, but now it kind of does. And I wouldn't want to work for some MAGA fuck. I wouldn't be able to. Luckily, I don't have to. But if you are in that situation, there's probably lots of those types of situations. And like I said, 20 years ago, this would not have mattered at all. A conservative can work for a liberal and vice versa. Nobody gave a fuck. But now it's like things are just so whack. And good on her, for just up and leaving. Like, I just can't sit by and watch my boss in the fucking Oval Office. I just can't do it. I'm out. And she left. And then the minute she was gone and the minute she was contractually able, she spoke her mind in a way that she felt like she couldn't speak it before. Now, it's one thing to go against the company. I understand that. You have it in your contract. Hey, you can't go out on social media and just trash the company. There's probably all sorts of clauses and shit in place. But now, with the wrestlers, they're like, fuck, if I want to speak out on my political beliefs on social media, it could affect my push. And that's a realistic thing. That's actually a thing, So some people aren't able to speak out because they're kind of handcuffed. And like I said, not in WWE, but that could be a lot of places. You have to mind your P's and Q's on social media. I can't run my mouth on Facebook because my boss follows me. There's a lot of people who are fucking handcuffed like that. Luckily, I'm not. I don't give a shit. But and I'm glad that Ava. It appears like that was a big reason for her leaving. I have no idea what the actual reason was, but it sounds like that might have been it. Where I just kind of thought she was like, okay, I've done the WWE thing. I think I just want to go do something else. And I was happy that she didn't feel like she had to stick around or stay in a career that maybe she didn't love, because there's no reason for her to do that. So anyway, all the best to Ava, the Rock's daughter, speaking out, and she bounced out of the company because she just couldn't really be associated with it anymore. So I'm sure her and her dad have a good relationship and whatnot, and I don't know where Rock stands on all this shit, but it sucks that this even matters in pro wrestling. I mean, as fucked up as everything is in the country right now, and I'm certainly vocal enough about that on social media, but wrestling should be somewhat of an escape, and it's hard that when this stuff is starting to leak its disgusting sludge into our business, into our escape, into our getaway, where Vince McMahon, as disgusting of a human being as he is, at least he was smart enough to know to keep a lot of this shit out of wrestling. They toyed with it. They did the Rosie O'Donnell and Trump thing, or what did they do on TV on Raw that time? And then back in 2004, when Bush and Kerry were running against each other, they did the debate with JBL and Mick Foley. And then back in the 2000s, when I used to go to shows, I thought this was really cool, is WWE, you could register to vote at WWE events. They would have booths set up. They made a whole campaign of it. They weren't partisan. They weren't telling you to vote for one side. They were just telling you to vote. That was a great message. Instead of Triple H taking the pictures with orange fuckface in the Oval Office, how about they just really encourage their universe to vote? They don't want to do that. They don't want more people voting. So it's just like, if you really want to send a message, just encourage people to vote, and that's always what I say. Just go vote. Just fucking go vote. Just go out there and vote. And let's hope that sanity outweighs the insanity. And unfortunately, it did not in the last election. But I still believe in sanity, and I do believe there are more smart people than stupid, even though it's a 50-50 race at this point. I'm happy that Ava decided that she just didn't want to work there. Punk is probably being like, I would like to do that too. The problem is they write me $20 million checks every year. And, I got to be honest, if my boss was MAGA and he was paying me $20 million a year, I'd probably just bite my tongue too. But that wouldn't stop me from shitting on that asshole's grave annually until the end of time, once he dies. But I'd probably have to. And that's just the situation. Every situation's different. Everybody's in a different situation, and Ava found herself in a situation where she's like, I don't have to do this. And she left. Thanked the company on the way out. Thank you. You guys were great. Loved a lot of the people there. Loved the wrestlers. And Sean was probably great to her, and a lot of good things to say, and loved the fans. But ultimately, she decided to go. So all the best to Ava. That's really the only news I thought that I would maybe mention for the Raw review tonight. But the big news coming out of Raw, of course, was Roman Reigns officially selecting CM Punk as his WrestleMania opponent. And like I said, we can only assume that's going to be the Night 2 main event. So there you go. There's the Raw review. Let's see what you guys have been saying all this time that I've been yapping in the chat there. If anybody hasn't hit the thumbs up button yet, or if you didn't like what I said politically, you can hit the thumbs down. And I want you to enjoy your All-American Cracker halftime show this coming Sunday at the Super Bowl because Bad Bunny's just too much for you, too spicy for you. So enjoy your saltine and your broccoli during Super Bowl because I guess that's what y'all eat. It ain't what I eat. Anyway, let's see what you guys are talking about here. I'm going to do a refresh on this. I don't want to miss any of the supers. I don't think I missed any, just one. Okay, not too bad. Not too bad. Want to shout out our friend Mike Witt. Thanks for dropping $10 in. Two things. First, love what they're doing with Breakker. He will officially turn on Vision Raw after Mania. I think the other main event is Cody versus Jacob versus Drew and a Hell in the Cell. Thoughts? Three-way Hell in the Cell, they've done those. I don't know if it needs it. I don't know if you need a cell for this. Well, maybe, actually, I take that back. Yes, because there is a lot of bad blood there. So, okay, maybe not. I mean, a Hell in the Cell and a WrestleMania main event, night one main event. I actually could see that. My initial instinct was like, no, I don't think so. But now I'm like, well, maybe. And like I said earlier, you could throw Sammy into this mix too. It doesn't have to be a three-way. You could do a four-way. And you could have Sammy fall short again, just more of his story to be told until you get next year's WrestleMania in Saudi and maybe give him the moment there. But a three-way or a four-way would be fun. And either of those matches in a cell, night one, as the selling point for the night one main event, Drew versus Cody versus Jacob versus Sammy, or maybe just a triple threat and you do it in a cell. Yeah, I can actually see that as being a possibility. Why not? Oh, WrestleMania is 18th and 19th of April. Okay, I don't know why I thought it was the 20th. It was April the 20th. Max, why I guess you're saying why not have the interesting story of Raquel versus Liv? I don't think it's not Mania. You can do Raquel versus Liv, but I don't know if that's a Mania match. If Raquel were to win the title and go into Mania as champion, I think 100 out of 100 people will say Liv's going to win that match. And plus, I think Stephanie's better than Raquel, to be honest. So even though I thought Raquel could win here tonight, I did have my doubts about the marquee quality of a Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez match. I think Liv and Stephanie is the bigger match. So that's why I think they didn't do it. I don't think Raquel is on that level. I think they're trying to get her there. I like her, but something's holding her back. Oh, Liv Morgan's the only woman to beat Jade. Oh, that's a good point. So that at least could add some thought, and I'm sure she will bring that up when she visits SmackDown on Friday. I can see that. Got to wonder when Jericho's going to show his face at some point. I feel like he's coming back. Now, he's on tour with Fozzy right now, so that's why we didn't see him at the Rumble, and that's why we probably aren't going to see him in the next couple of weeks. But he did make his WWE debut in Chicago, not the United Center, where Elimination Chamber is going to be. He did it in the Rosemount. But Chicago is the city that Jericho debuted in the WWE in 1999 when he faced off with The Rock. He could do the same thing here at Elimination Chamber, only it will be at the United Center, which would be really interesting. Oh, Max, so if you did Drew and Cody versus Jacob at Mania, you've got Jacob winning. I'd be all for that. I really would. I don't think they would, though. I like that. That's wonderful sounding to me. But I don't know, something just tells me that they wouldn't. But imagine Jacob winning on night 2, Roman winning on night 1. And eventually you're going to have to get Jacob and Roman at some point as well. You're going to have to get Jacob and Breakker. I'm hoping that Jacob and Breakker are both in the chamber and we get some Jacob Breakker action in the chamber. That will be fun. If Jacob wasn't involved in the match, I would book Breakker and Jacob, but I don't think Jacob really fits into what they're doing with Breakker right now with the Pierce stuff. I don't think Jacob's the hooded guy that's stomping him. So Breakker and Jacob is going to have to wait, but we'll get that at some point. But if Jacob were to come away with the WWE title on night one. That'd be mind-blowing. And then maybe you know how like back in the day we would sometimes have really big super angles drop on the night after WrestleMania on Raw. Maybe they form some super bloodline with Roman as champion and Jacob as champion, and maybe the Usos are still fucking tag champs. Paul Heyman comes back into the mix, and then you throw Sammy in there, and you just have this like super over fucking bloodline from hell. Probably not, but something like that. I'm hoping that Saudi Arabia fixes whatever the issues were. Now, like we talked about the weird-looking crowd at Royal Rumble, it was a little bit deceiving. There was still a fuck ton of empty seats. Don't let people try to tell you it was full. It was not. But those lights were making it hard to tell. There were fans in a lot of those seats, but they had lights on them, and so visually, it looked like the show was really empty, but it wasn't. But it sure as hell wasn't full either. So hopefully for WrestleMania, it'll be a whole different story. And WWE, too, will probably want to make assurances of that. Like, they'll talk to the royal family or whatever. Like, what do we got to do to make sure all these seats are full? Like, what do we got to do? Let's just make sure that happens. Get all the little kids out here. Fill them up. Fill up those seats. So I think that whatever weirdness, the vibe the crowd had for the Rumble this time around, I think they'll have that fixed by the next time we're there. And we also have 2 more Saudi shows this year before we even get to WrestleMania. So, Saudi. 10 more from Mike. I hate to say this, and I hope it doesn't happen, but I know Mania next year's in Saudi. You think they want Rock and Roman just a main event next year in Saudi? Just a thought of mine, Greg. Yes. I think that main event is already set in stone. I think it is The Rock versus Roman Reigns next year, night 2, WrestleMania 43. I think Saudi Arabia is going to throw a shit ton of money at The Rock, and Saudi Arabia is going to be able to dictate what these matches are, not the creative team, which probably can't even get any worse, to be honest. We'll see if Roman Reigns holds the title for the whole year. What do you think? Does Roman hold the title? If he beats Punk at WrestleMania, does he go into next year's WrestleMania as champion and he defends that world title against The Rock? I mean, he might. And hey, we should acknowledge here that this number 2 belt, this secondary title, this is the second Royal Rumble in a row that the Rumble winner has chosen this belt to challenge for, because Jey Uso did it last year, and now this belt is about to main event night 2 of WrestleMania. So they are doing their best to make this belt as important as the other world title. Back 20 years ago, they did a good job, I think, of doing the same thing with the world title and the WWE title, because sometimes the title would swap brands, give it a fresh look. Triple H, with his reign of terror, was holding not the WWE title, but the world title that they just pulled out of a suitcase in 2002. And they were able to elevate that belt. And that belt, the big gold belt, was on the line in the main event of the 20th WrestleMania in Madison Square Garden. So they were able to get that belt as meaningful or as important or more important than their own WWE championship, which I, at the time, found mind-blowing. So this really helps, I think, to elevate the importance of this world championship that they created a couple of years ago, because now this thing's going to be headlined in a night 2 main event by CM Punk and Roman Reigns. So I don't think I'm assuming too much, assuming that's going to be the night 2 main event. It's got to be, right? So I don't think I'm really crossing any lines there, just making that assumption. But that's the way I feel like it's going to be. 2 more from Mike. I still think we're getting Finn and Dom at Mania. Yeah, we probably will get Finn and Dom at Mania. And maybe Finn takes the IC from Dom. That's his consolation prize. But I think Finn is also going to get a world championship match against CM Punk at the Chamber. Maybe Dom interferes in that or something. Maybe something happens there. Garrett Osborne, 2 from you. Thank you. Give the Phantom Plumbers complimentary seats. Yeah, the Phantom Plumbers. Give them all seats. Bring everybody in. Everybody who helped snap that modular stadium together in Saudi Arabia, give everybody seats. Fill that thing up. Yeah, if Roman wins the title at Mania, he's dropping it at SummerSlam. I've been mentioning doing a match between Roman Reigns and Braun Breaker and booking it just like Brock and Rock at SummerSlam 2002. and just have Breakker kind of dominate and beat Roman Reigns and win the championship right there at SummerSlam. Shock the world. I would love that. So that means I think they're doing the King of the Ring thing still. That's what's happening, right? The King of the Ring now faces the champion or a champion or his brand's champion at SummerSlam. So Breakker winning that, and then just like Brock did, and Brock win King of the Ring, right? And then going on to face Roman and then just annihilating him. And then right before or after that, wherever it falls, have Dominic Mysterio win Money in the Bank. Cash in on Breakker. Or cash in on the other title on SmackDown. All right, well, I think that's going to do it. I think we got everything out that we needed to get out tonight, so thank you so much for watching this evening. On your way out the door, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button for me. If you haven't checked out the Royal Rumble review from Saturday, check that out. And last night, we watched No Way Out 2000. That was a lot of fun. I did have a couple of YouTube shorts for reactions, but they got copyrighted, so maybe I'll throw those up over on social media somewhere, so keep an eye out for those. A couple Patreon videos in the works and whatnot. And we'll see what goes on this week. So I guess we'll be back for the podcast on Saturday, and you may see me earlier depending on what's happening. In case anything crazy happens or any big news drops, I'll show back up here this week and talk about it. Before we go, let me answer another 10 from our friend Mike Witt. Going to my first ever pay-per-view, Greg. Driving 4 hours to Chicago to see Elimination Chamber. P.S. This will be my first time ever watching Punk and Cody live. That's awesome. I hope they're both in matches. I think they will be. So that's your first ever PPV. Holy crap. First ever. Shit. Well, enjoy yourself. Hope your seats are good. Take some videos. Post them on social media. Let us know how it is. Buy a t-shirt. Drink some cold ones. Have a great time. I'm so glad you're going. Right on. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to get out of here now. So thanks again for hanging out this evening. I appreciate it. And I'll be catching y'all probably later on this week. Have a good rest of your Monday night. Peace.